Mr Speaker.
I call Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise on behalf of New Zealand First to take a call in support of the Maritime Crimes Amendment Bill. But before I do, sir, I seek the indulgence of the House to take a couple of moments to reflect on a very auspicious week, as this might be, a very memorable week for some, sir. Because, sir, this week we see the opportunity, I guess, for members of Parliament of this House to farewell our chamber staff who have worked in this House for some of them up to 20 years, sir. And I think this is a great opportunity, and one of the only opportunities that I will have to thank these people who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that everything goes to order. The people that are not seen on the TV screens back home, but they are here every day, bright and early, making sure that the microphones work, making sure that everything's ready to go. And sadly, and then for some it's not so sad, I'm sure there are a number of chamber staff who are happy to take the redundancy, sir, but sadly for others. But sir, if I could just take a moment to acknowledge these people here. We've got Bob Wards, who's 20 years being here working in the House. Bob Mann, 19 years. We've got Deborah, 14 years. Ewan, 3 years. Maureen has been here for 9 years, sir. We have got Pat for 15 years, Sue here for 7 years, Thomas for 6 years, Philip for 9 years, Pauline's been here for 15 years, and Trevor for 19 years. So too has Charles, been here for 19 years, sir. Maria has been here for 3 years, I was going to say 30 years then, and Judy for 17, and Ken for 6. That's a total combined time given to this House of 181 years of experience that we're going to be losing at the end of this week. And if we could just take a moment to reflect on that and perhaps give an applause, and certainly to say thank you very much on behalf of all members of Parliament in the House to a great job well done. And we hope that there is a celebration, or certainly an opportunity at the end of the week, that we get to come around and see you one by one. So thank you all very much. So I appreciate that indulgence. I know there's been some people spoken about getting off subject today, sir, and I would like to go back to the bill. I'm very pleased I had that opportunity to speak.
You haven't been there yet. Come on.
No, I mentioned the bill right at the start, sir. I did actually say that I'm speaking in support of the Maritime's Crimes Amendment Bill, and I thought I'd start with that. That would give me a little bit of leeway. Clearly my leeway has run out. Sir, this is a bill that has been around for some time. In 2005, the Rome Protocols were discussed and the convention were talked about. They were signed in 2007, and of course they were implemented in 2010. And through all my research, I can't find anywhere, sir, that says why the hold-up has taken so long. There's nothing that suggests it should take to 2016 to ratify this bill, and I too am in support of making sure that this goes through. I have to smile when I hear things and phrases such as weapons of mass destruction, because of course we all remember George W. Bush famously saying we're going to get those WMDs, those weapons of mass destruction, and waged war on the Middle East, a war in the Middle East that is still raging and probably getting worse, not better, which they had hoped to do. But in saying that, sir, we can also acknowledge the fact that global terrorism is on the rise. And if geopolitical parties and governments successively around the country do not join forces and get together to work harmoniously to eradicate this sort of global terror, then we've got some big problems in the future. And it's not just government's responsibility, but it also is the responsibility of the people. Back to the bill. Sir, the bill is about bringing in some new enforcement regimes. It's about empowerment. I think, remember last year, the 15th of January, I remember, it might have been the 14th of January, we remember the headlines where our naval ships went down to try and board a fishing vessel that was harvesting illegally fish from the Southern Ocean, sir. And it was very perplexing to New Zealanders, including New Zealand First, as to why, when a naval ship approached a vessel and asked them to stop, they simply didn't do so, sir. They continued on their merry way. We didn't fire a warning shot. We didn't try to board their ship, and of course we don't have the power to do so. We do not want that same thing happening when we talk about weapons of mass destruction, when we talk about terrorist activities, large bombs, when we're talking about other things that are going to cause death and mayhem to platforms which are largely considered to be oil rigs. The lives that could certainly put at risk but also the environment, the large impact that that will have on our environment, sir, needs to be waged in on this. So we do support this to Select Committee. We're hoping to get this moved through rather rapidly, sir, to see it actually being fully implemented, into the House and actually ratified into law. We certainly do not see the reason for it to be dilly-dallied and to held back. The boarding regime, sir, is a very important aspect. If there's thought to be somebody who is harbouring illicit materials that may result in bombs or the likes, that the person in charge, the office of the enforcement officer, should have the power to actually board that vessel. Of course, the new powers also involve asking for those ships or vessels to stop, and if they're not done so, sir, warning shots can actually be fired to say to them, we mean business. But we do have an obligation to our country, to our people, and to the rest of the United Nations, to all countries, to make sure that New Zealand plays its part in eradicating terror. There is one concerning point, sir, in this legislation, and it is around the order in council. Now, we've spoken about the order in council on a number of occasions, sir, and I fail to see what significance this by order in council application has with this bill. Because, of course, by order in council means that the minister can implement or do what they like without bringing things back to the House. And I'm sure once this has been agreed on, gone through the third reading, we could implement it as soon as it gets the stamp of approval. But there are currently 798 by order in councils in legislation that are active in this country right now. And when we give the power to a minister to arbitrarily make a decision on the behalf of other members of the House without bringing it back to a democratic process of discussion, debate and a vote, we have some sort of umbrance with that process, sir. I would question that as why it needs to be in the bill, and we would certainly like to thrash that out at Select Committee to see if we can't get a better understanding of why it actually needs to be there, sir. We do support this as we go into Select Committee and look forward to seeing how it comes out at the other end. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker.
David.